Flagler County 911, where's your emergency?
Yes, may I have an officer over at 23 Helter Lane?
23 what?
Helter Lane.
Felter?
Yes.
Okay, what's going on there?
I was in the shower. I heard gunshots, and I think my wife shot herself.
What happened?
I was in the shower, and I heard some gunshots.
Okay.
I think that my wife accidentally shot herself.
This is a story about the death of Brandy Salenza by her husband Keith Johansen. If you do end up liking this video, please subscribe. On April 7th, 2018, a 911 call was made. The caller was 36-year-old Keith Johansen, and in that call, he claims his wife committed suicide.
Where did she shoot herself?
Looks like in my bedroom.
Where did she shoot herself bodily?
I don't know. I can't see it.
What do you actually see?
She's laying down right next to the bed.
Where is she bleeding from anywhere?
I don't see it.
His wife Brandy, aged 25, was found on her bed around 11 a.m. by police with 2 gunshot wounds to the chest. She was found on the same day the 911 call was made. On April 27th at 4 p.m., Keith Johansen was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Now, the police did initially treat the death as suspicious, but upon Keith's arrest, they officially called it a homicide. Now, the police did review footage of home security cameras, and what they saw conflicted with what Keith was stating in the 911 call. So the footage shows that Keith and Brandy were having a heated argument on April 5th. The same actually happened again on April 7th. Now, it's important to note, when Brandy was shot, the security camera was turned off. Now, the police did consider other suspects. However, when they reviewed the camera in the dining room, it showed that no one else was in the house except Keith, Brandy, and their 6-year-old son. So during the 911 call, when it was made, when the police reviewed the camera, Johansen was actually pictured. He was wearing a shirt and boxers, a white shirt and boxers. Now, the camera captured Keith telling operators that he was checking on his wife. But according to the cameras, he was removing drugs from the living room. He was trying to hide evidence of drugs from the living room so the police don't see it when they get there. When Keith was arrested, he was held without bond. It was revealed that he had a protection order against domestic violence from a previous relationship. Now we're going to go and look at the trial footage. We're going to look at the defense, the prosecution. I'm also going to talk about the motive and why I think he did this. Let's see how this goes.
You will hear testimony from responding deputies that while they noticed some water on the floor on one side of the bedroom, sort of towards the bathroom, there was no water on the floor by the victim. Mr. Johansen wasn't wet. His hair wasn't wet. And the bathroom and the shower didn't look like a shower had just happened and someone rushed out in a hurry to assist.
The defense is arguing, as Keith claimed he was taking a shower when this incident took place, the forensic did not find any water next to the body. The prosecutors make a good point regarding water splashing out. If you imagine someone else shoots Brandy, yeah, just think of that in your head. Imagine Keith is in the shower, someone else shoots Brandy. Keith hears the noise, he comes running out of the shower in a panic. Chances are you'd see water splashes everywhere, some on the wall, some on the floor, but certainly some next to the body.
After the scene was secured, the detectives from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office and crime scene investigators arrived, and various tasks began breaking up amongst all the staff. A search warrant was obtained, and crime scene investigator C.C. Woody, along with an assistant, began to photograph, document the house, collect any evidence that was there on scene. While that was going on, and it took well into the night of the 7th, and they even returned on the 8th to continue working, but into the night on the 7th, while that was going on, Detective Nicole Quinteri, you'll hear her referred to as Nicole Thomas throughout the investigation at this time, she was assigned as the case agent, and she was asked to interview Mr. Johansen. As you can imagine, as the only adult in the home, any information Mr. Johansen could provide would be important to this investigation.
When Keith was actually questioned by police away from the 911 call and at his house, he claimed that he acted in self-defense. There was a time where he also claimed someone else did it. Maybe someone else was in the house. His actual defense was self-defense. So let's have a look at the defense's opening statement.
Ms. Salenza was killed in self-defense. And you're going to hear instruction about what self-defense is and justifiable homicide. It's a very tragic case, and I'll explain what happened and what evidence you will hear, both through cross-examination of the state's witnesses and from testimony that we'll also provide on our side. The one thing that Mr. Johansen could not tell his parents or the police on the 7th, which is both of them have been binging for many days on methamphetamine. And you'll find out in the autopsy procedure that Dr. Bulick's office, as is routine when they do an autopsy, will draw blood and send that blood to a lab to be tested for the existence of any controlled substances. And you will find out that Brandy Salenza had, in fact, consumed methamphetamine. She had it in her blood. She also tested positive for THC, which is the element of marijuana.
The defense is now painting a picture of self-defense. If you can imagine, Brandy is under the influence of methamphetamine. She attacks Keith, who retaliates in self-defense. Now, this does have some grounding, as there were drugs in the victim's system, as stated by the defense. This also seems highly convenient narrative, considering earlier Keith was worried about hiding the drugs rather than attend to his wife in the 911 call. I also wonder, on a separate note, this is my own personal opinion, this lawyer, he probably knows this story won't work, so why give it a try? You could argue it's his job to represent his client. He's a court-appointed lawyer, etc., etc. And I do understand that, but essentially, he knows he's lying. Are there no questions or repercussions on his integrity? This, of course, would be rendered invalid if indeed he genuinely believed his client. Now Keith is on the stand. Let's watch it. I'll analyze what he says. Let's see how this goes.
And the first reason was you were worried about your meth use, is that right?
About telling people about our meth use.
Okay, so not even about getting arrested. You were just worried about...
Well, I was worried about that too, yes.
Okay. Did you have meth in the house?
I wasn't sure. Brandy had the last gram of it, so we could have.
Okay. But generally, you're just worried about use. You didn't want your parents to know that you used meth.
That's one of the reasons.
And the second reason was that you didn't want to air out the problems in your marriage.
Okay, quick word on his body language. He does look very worried and mentally drained to me, but then that's perfectly normal considering his circumstances. He has gained a lot of weight. This isn't me mocking him, it's just an observation. I do also feel his skin is pale. Perhaps he's suffering drug withdrawal symptoms. Again, that's just an observation. Finally, he claims he was ashamed to tell the world of his drug use and the problems in his marriage. All thus far are understandable human emotions.
Correct?
That's another one.
Right. You listed that as the reason, right?
Correct.
Okay. But in fact, in the interview with the detectives, you told the detectives about the problems in your marriage when you were asked, correct?
Correct. I didn't go to the extent, though.
Okay. And you told them about her cheating, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the other reasons you gave is that you didn't want to tarnish Miss Salenza's name.
Correct.
Okay. By meth use?
Meth use and the infidelity.
And the sex stuff.
Right.
Even though in the video on the 5th, you told her, I can't wait until this is on the front page of the paper so they see my story.
So now the story unravels a little more. Let's look at the psychology in a little more detail. It tells the police his wife was cheating on him. This is, of course, an allegation that we can't prove. He didn't want them knowing of his wife's drug use. Why? Is he trying to defend her honor? Why is her honor now important to him? Perhaps he is showing signs of remorse, and this could be his guilt mechanism trying to limit the damage within his own mental state. In other words, he killed her, he feels bad, he does not want the world to know who she was inside the house. He doesn't want the world to think this is just another drug addict, because then that would make him feel worse given that he killed her. Now, in regards to the infidelity, it's perfectly plausible that he found out she was cheating, so he killed her. Again, if you use your imagination, let's assume he's under the influence of drugs or the after effects of a drug wearing off. They both start talking about her infidelity. His emotions are clouded and all over the place. It appears he has a propensity to become verbally abusive, and maybe the straw that broke the camel's back was infidelity and he killed her. Again, just my observation.
I don't recall.
You don't remember saying anything about all this being aired out in the newspapers
I don't recall.
after you threatened her life?
Yet again, I don't recall.
So I want to go through that statement with you
Okay.
and determine exactly what you were lying about. In the statement, you told the detectives that Miss Brandy Salenza was everything you wanted her to be. Is that right?
Correct.
So that was a lie, correct?
No, ma'am.
No?
No,
I
ma'am.
thought she was a bitch and a whore. You told the detectives that you would have arguments. It was nothing crazy and nothing violent. That was a lie, correct?
I never got violent.
No?
I said violent things, yes, but
And-
I never got violent.
Brandishing a firearm, telling somebody to kill themselves with it, that's not violent.
See, that was taken out of context. I never said kill yourself with it. I said you do it as being to put it in the safe, which you heard me take the weapon to, and you heard me punch in the numbers right afterwards.
Okay, so when you threw it down on the bed, you were telling her to put it in the safe?
Pretty much.
So you guys were doing great. You were just bickering here and there. Neither of you were aggressive during arguments. That was a lie. Right?
Correct.
Right, because you were pretty aggressive on those videos.
Right.
You told the detectives you didn't care about this online thing. Big whoopee.
Well, at the time, we had got over it.
So on the 7th, 2 days later, you were over all of that we saw on the 5th.
Correct. We were over it on the 6th.
You just woke up and all of that was nothing.
We had talked that morning, and we both let it go.
Okay, the big whoopee bit was his response to the question of, what do you think of your wife's infidelity? Now, again, if a spouse is caught cheating, it doesn't take a day or two to get over it. It actually takes, in many cases, you never get over it, you just get used to it. Now, of course, when you're on the stand in a courtroom, there's a lot of things you would say that you wouldn't ordinarily say. I think it's hard for Keith to pre-plan his answers given the situation, he's under pressure, etc. But I'm sorry, in any context, at any time, in any situation, if your spouse is unfaithful, you don't get over it the next day, as he's suggesting. In fact, it probably adds more to the motive that so soon that he found out or it was on his mind of the infidelity, she dies.
You told the detectives, again, you didn't care, that she was noble and that she was honest for telling you. That was a lie.
After I got to reflect on it, you know what I mean? She did tell me, and that was a noble thing. Like I said, we got over it. You know, we both got over it.
You agree you didn't treat her with respect like she was noble on the 5th.
Correct.
When did she tell you all this happened?
Either the 4th or the 5th, one of the two.
So there, he confirmed 3 or 4 days before the actual shooting, she reveals her infidelity. But still, he's trying to defend her honor by suggesting that she was noble for telling him. So for me, he's doing one of 3 things. Number 1, he did get over it and he's trying to move past it, potentially. Number 2, he did not get over it and his ego is affecting his judgment. And finally, number 3, which is what I would think is going on, he doesn't know how to cope with it, so he's in denial.
You had a little argument. That's what you told Detective Quintero, a little argument.
Right.
5, 6, how many hours was it?
I can't recall.
Longer than what we saw in the video?
I can't recall.
I'm the kind of person that will suck it up, cheating, infidelity, and let it go. Is that what happened when she told you it was no big deal?
Right afterward, the day after, that's what happened.
You told the detectives that on the morning of the 7th, when she woke up that morning, that she came into the shower, she peeked around the shower curtain and joked with you back and forth, correct?
That's what I told them, and that was a lie, yes.
That was a lie. You told the detectives that you keep your guns on the side of the bed between the mattress and the bed frame. That was a lie.
Some of them I usually did keep them there, so that wasn't a complete lie.
But you knew they were interested in the morning of the 7th, and where were your guns?
They didn't specify.
You didn't know that they were asking you about right before the murder where the guns were?
I thought they were asking in general.
You didn't think it was important to tell them where they were on the morning of the 7th when you're trying to explain why your wife is shot dead in your home?
They didn't ask me that specific question.
Okay. When you told the detectives you were sliding around on the ground and you couldn't get to her, that was a lie?
Well, I was a little bit wet, but that was a lie, yes.
Okay. You didn't try to get to her?
I got to her.
You got to her?
Enough to see that she wasn't breathing to call, the proper authorities.
Right, but you never tried to help your wife?
I don't know CPR. I'm not trained in stuff like that.
What about when the dispatcher's out telling you what to do and trying to give you instructions? You never touched her. You never applied pressure. That's true, correct?
That's true. I didn't know where the wounds were.
You told the dispatcher you saw blood spots, correct?
Right.
And when he asked you to apply pressure, you said, I don't want to touch her. I don't want to get near her, correct?
Correct. I didn't want to hurt
In the Circuit Court 7th Judicial Circuit in and for Flagler County, Florida, State of Florida versus Keith Johansen, case number 2018-426 CFFA, Judge Christopher France. Verdict: Count 1 of the indictment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Keith Johansen, as follows to count 1 of the indictment. Guilty as charged as the crime of first-degree murder. So say we all, dated at Bunnell, Flagler County, Florida, this 28th day of October.
She wasn't just my sister. She was my best friend. She was a mother. She was a daughter. She was young. She still had a whole life to go. And he just took her away, and nobody was able to say anything. And being in jail is great for freaking him. He gets to live, as we still have to suffer inside with my sister gone and knowing and have to deal with Rylan growing up knowing his mom is not here with us.
Adjudicated guilty of the crime of first-degree premeditated murder, Mr. Johansen, I do sentence you to life in prison in the custody of the Florida Department of Corrections without the possibility of parole for the murder of Miss Lorenzo. Okay. You have 30 days.
And there you have it. Keith Johansen sentenced to life in prison. I'm struggling to understand a genuine motive. Yes, I know we've dabbled in the realm of his wife's infidelity, maybe the drugs. But I think given that there's been a lack of information regarding this case, I've done my research and there's not much in terms of motive. My conclusion would be that he was jealous that she cheated on him, but that does beg the question, why did she cheat on him? Was there something wrong with him? Was he abusive to her and she wanted to get away? Of course, there's no justifying infidelity, but context is everything. The other question is, why are they both taking drugs in the first place? What are they running from? Do they not have a purpose? I'm not talking about the THC, I'm actually talking about the methamphetamine, which is a highly addictive drug. Now just imagine two parents taking meth who have a 6-year-old son. If that's not a future case for the Child Protection Services, I don't know what is. So my conclusion is, and again, this is purely a guess, this is there's no science to this, it's just me looking at the facts and coming up with my own conclusions. There was always tension between them both. She obviously cheated on him. She then went and told him, if that's how it actually happened. Maybe he found out, who knew. Either way, she cheated on him. He found out. He got jealous. He couldn't handle it. He felt rejected. He felt unwanted. He did not feel appreciated. He felt ignored. Now, who knows whether he intended to kill her? It does seem like it was a random act in the moment, but he certainly was trying to punish her. Either way, her infidelity should not result in her death. And this is just another sad case in America with the breakdown of a marriage and the breakdown of a family. And the biggest victim in this is a 6-year-old son who no longer has his mother, and anytime he sees his father, he sees the killer of his mother. Thank you for watching.